What happens when a self-made hotel CEO decides to become a trainee and discovers his own manager is running a shady side hustle? Isaiah Fuller stood in the back of his Escalade, tugging on his Navy bellboy uniform. The fake glasses, dyed hair, and 20 pounds he'd gained over the last year made him almost unrecognizable. He glanced into the mirror and exhaled. "Let's find out what's really going on in Store 17," he muttered. Over the last 6 months, Isaiah had taken a step back from the hotels he built from scratch over 15 years. 17 locations across 5 states. What started as one roadside motel in Iowa had turned into a mid-tier boutique hotel chain known for customer service and clean rooms. But lately, guest complaints had been rising at a few locations, especially the one in St. Louis. Broken AC units, missing towels, overbookings, and refund delays. The reports he got from the manager, a guy named Craig, always sounded polished. "We're short-staffed, but managing," Craig had written last week. "Inventory is tight, but under control." Isaiah didn't buy it. He'd never met Craig in person. Corporate hired him a year ago, during a hiring spree. The location had decent reviews back then. But Isaiah had learned the hard way that you can't lead a company from a spreadsheet. That's why he was here, posing as Ian Foster, a new trainee bellhop getting trained for weekend shifts. The front desk girl, a sharp-eyed 20-something named Gia Collins, greeted him as he walked in. "You the new guy?" she asked without looking up. Her tone was tired, but not unkind. "Yeah. Ian." Isaiah nodded. She reached under the counter and handed him a navy polo and name tag. "We're short 2 housekeepers and a maintenance guy today. If Craig's late again, you'll probably be running towels." "Where's the manager?" he asked casually. "Probably in the back. Or out handling inventory," she said, rolling her eyes. "You'll see." Isaiah followed her behind the desk, watching everything with quiet focus. Gia was efficient balancing check-ins, answering phones, and printing receipts in a rhythm Isaiah hadn't seen in a while. She had skill. But she also looked worn out. "You been here long?" he asked while she handed a keycard to a couple. 7 months, she replied. "I was full-time, but Craig cut my hours last month." "Said we're over budget." Isaiah nodded, filing that away. He spent the morning shadowing Gia and helping guests with bags. The elevators were slow. The hallway on the 3rd floor smelled like mildew. A couple complained about their broken mini fridge, and said no one had come to fix it after 3 requests. By noon, Craig still hadn't shown up. When he finally walked in around 12:30, Isaiah recognized something immediately: overconfidence. Craig wore designer sunglasses indoors and carried nothing but his phone. "Who's the new guy?" Craig asked, pointing at Isaiah. "Ian." "Trainee," Gia answered flatly. Craig looked Isaiah up and down. "You got experience?" "A little," Isaiah said, keeping his tone simple. Craig waved a hand. "Whatever. Just don't touch the inventory room without clearing it with me." Isaiah gave a small nod. But that sentence stuck in his head. Later, when Craig disappeared into the back, Isaiah helped a guest who was upset about a broken hairdryer and no extra sheets. She said she'd been promised a refund, but nobody followed up. "I'll check it for you," Isaiah said. He went to the supply room to find sheets, and noticed the door was locked. A keypad lock. He knocked lightly. No answer. "Inventory's off limits," Gia said behind him. She was holding a stack of towels. "He keeps it locked all the time. Says it's for loss prevention. But somehow we're always out of stuff." Isaiah frowned. "Who has the code?" "Only Craig. Not even housekeeping has it. We end up buying towels with our own money sometimes, just to keep up." Isaiah's stomach tightened. "Wait, you buy towels?" Gia nodded. "Yeah. I've spent like $50 this month. I just want to do my job right." That night, Isaiah stayed late pretending to clean up the lobby. Craig left around 6, after saying he had An off-site supplier meeting. As soon as the coast was clear, Isaiah grabbed a set of universal keys from the maintenance closet and headed to the inventory room. The key didn't work. The keypad blinked red. He wasn't getting in without help. But the next morning, Isaiah showed up early before anyone else. He waited in the maintenance hallway until Craig arrived. As Craig unlocked the door and stepped inside, Isaiah caught the door with his foot and followed him in. Craig turned startled. "You can't be in here." Isaiah scanned the room quickly. Half the items were broken hairdryers with frayed cords, cracked mini fridges, lamps missing shades. But all of them had orange tags taped to them with prices. Prices that were way too high. "What's all this?" Isaiah asked calmly. Craig stepped in front of him. "Store policy. We list damaged inventory for write-off." "It's logged." Isaiah picked up a tag. Microwave $180. Another said hairdryer $95. "These don't cost this much new," Isaiah said. Craig's jaw tightened. "You don't need to worry about it. You're just a trainee." Isaiah didn't say anything. But in that moment, he knew exactly what was going on. Craig was inflating inventory write-off prices and pocketing the difference. Isaiah walked out without another word. But his mind was already racing. This was worse than he thought. Tomorrow he'd dig deeper. And then it would be time to act. The next morning, Isaiah stood across the street from the St. Louis Hotel, sipping burnt coffee from a gas station cup. The sky was still gray, just beginning to lighten. He watched the front doors for movement, his mind running through everything he'd seen in the inventory room the night before. He hadn't slept much. Too many pieces were falling into place: guest complaints, supply shortages, and now inflated prices on trashed equipment. It wasn't just mismanagement. It was theft. And it had been happening under his nose for months. At 6:30, he crossed the street and entered through the staff entrance. The hallway lights flickered like they had the day before. Gia was already at the front desk, resetting the night audit system. She looked up, surprised. "You're early." He shrugged. "Thought I'd get a jump on training." She didn't question it. "Good luck. Our only housekeeper today called off." Again. Isaiah nodded and walked past the desk toward the back office. He didn't need luck. He needed proof. The office door was slightly ajar. Through the crack, he saw Craig at the desk, talking on his phone with his back turned. Isaiah caught a few words. "Yeah, I'll bring 2 more microwaves this afternoon." "Same price." "No, same drop spot." He knocked once and stepped in. Craig jumped and ended the call. "Can I help you?" "I was looking for the maintenance log. Gia said I should study it." Craig frowned. "That's not part of your role. And this isn't a classroom. Just do what you're told." Isaiah stayed where he was. "I noticed the door to the storage room was open yesterday." Some of the items looked like they were tagged for resale. Craig leaned back, visibly annoyed. "You're getting out of line. Trainees don't ask questions like that." Isaiah didn't flinch. "I just want to understand how things work." Craig stood, stepped around the desk, and closed the door behind him. "Here's how this works. I run this place. You do what I say or you're gone. Got it?" Isaiah held his gaze. "Got it." He walked out without another word. Back at the front desk, Gia was dealing with a guest who looked furious. Isaiah waited until the man stormed off toward the elevator before stepping in. "What happened?" "Room wasn't cleaned." Again. "I told Craig last week we needed backup for housekeeping. He said he'd handle it." Isaiah lowered his voice. "Can you show me the schedule?" Gia pulled out a laminated chart from under the desk. Only 2 housekeepers were listed for the entire week. One of them had crossed out 3 shifts in red marker. "We've been running like this for a month," she said. "I've brought it up. Nothing changes." Isaiah tapped the counter, thinking. "Do you have a copy of the vendor invoices?" She raised an eyebrow. "Why?" I want to compare something. She hesitated, then pulled open a drawer. He usually locks this, but I made a copy of last month's before he started keeping them in his office. Isaiah flipped through the papers. There were repeat entries for small appliance supplier STL, all handwritten, no business letterhead. Each listed items like TV unit $400, mini fridge $375, hairdryer $150. All paid in cash. He looked up. Have you ever seen anyone from this supplier? No. He always says he meets them off-site. Isaiah folded the papers carefully and slid them into his back pocket. Later that afternoon, a couple checked in and asked for extra towels. Isaiah offered to bring them up himself. When he reached the laundry room, he found it almost empty. Only one shelf held a few thin, mismatched towels. He walked to the end of the hall where the housekeeping carts were stored. One cart was half-stocked, the other completely bare. A woman in her 50s with thinning hair and a limp rounded the corner, pushing a cart slowly. You looking for towels? She asked. Yeah. Good luck. We've been out since yesterday. Isaiah offered to help her push the cart. I'm Ian. Maria, she said. I've been here 8 years. They reached the elevator and waited in silence for a moment. I've never seen it this bad, she said quietly. They used to treat us like people. Now I'm lucky if I get my full hours. Why haven't you left? She looked up at him. Too old. Too tired. And I still believe this place can be good again. Back in the lobby, Craig was leaning against the front desk scrolling through his phone. He glanced at Isaiah. Go check the third-floor ice machine. Someone said it's busted. Already did, Isaiah replied. It's unplugged. Craig narrowed his eyes. Then plug it in. Isaiah walked back toward the elevator, but stopped near the side hallway where staff packages were delivered. A box was sitting on the table, addressed to Craig, with the return label marked Appliance Liquidation STL. He opened it. Inside were 2 used microwaves with visible dents and frayed cords. No packing slip, no invoice, nothing. He snapped photos, closed the box, and walked back toward the front desk. Craig intercepted him halfway. You got a problem with following orders? Isaiah didn't answer. Craig stepped closer. You think because you're new you can question how I run things? You don't know anything about what it takes to keep this place afloat. Isaiah lowered his voice. I know what theft looks like. Craig's face twitched. You're done. Get your stuff and go. Isaiah nodded once, then walked toward the office. He didn't go to the break room. He went straight to the security DVR system and pulled the last 3 days of footage. He copied the files to a flash drive he'd brought in his sock. Then he walked out the front doors. Outside, he called his regional HR director. Pull Craig's access. Effective immediately, he said. And call security for that location. Nobody lets him back in. Understood. What happened? Isaiah's voice was steady. He's using the hotel to run a side business selling junk appliances. I found the fake invoices. I've got it all on camera. There was a pause. Do you want to handle the termination personally? I'll be back in 2 hours. By the time Isaiah returned, Craig was gone. A security guard stood by the front desk while Gia explained things softly to a guest who had just walked in. Maria stood nearby, eyes wide. Isaiah stepped into the lobby, no longer hiding. Gia looked up. Wait, what's going on? He pulled off the name badge. My name's Isaiah Fuller. I own this hotel. The silence was instant. Maria whispered. You were the trainee? Isaiah nodded. Not anymore. He turned to the front desk. We're rebuilding this place. Starting now. Isaiah stood in the staff lounge, now wearing a plain blazer over his shirt. No name tag. No cover. The door to the manager's office was open, and inside, 2 corporate HR reps were packing up Craig's belongings, just a laptop, a few binders, and a box of loose receipts. He turned to Gia, who lingered near the hallway. Her arms were crossed, expression unreadable. You okay? He asked. She gave a short nod, then looked past him to the office. I didn't expect any of this. I thought corporate didn't care what happened down here. Isaiah's voice was even. That's my fault. I let the distance grow. It won't happen again. She leaned against the wall. You saw everything, didn't you? I saw enough. And I heard more from you and Maria than I ever got from our regional reports. Gia let out a slow breath. I wasn't trying to stir things up. I just didn't want to lie to guests anymore. You didn't. You held things together. He turned toward the open door. Can you gather the rest of the team in the break room? 15 minutes. When he entered the break room, the atmosphere was tense. 5 employees sat around the table: Gia, Maria, a young maintenance tech named Devin, one housekeeper named Farah, and a night auditor who looked like she hadn't slept in 2 days. No one spoke. Isaiah remained standing. Thanks for giving me a few minutes. I'm not here to lecture. I'm here to fix what I broke. He looked at each of them. I built this company with my own hands. But I let layers of management grow between me and the people actually doing the work. I stopped listening. And the wrong people took advantage of that. No one interrupted. We lost good staff here. We ignored the ones who stayed. We let someone run this building like it was his own pawn shop. That ends today. Devin raised his hand slightly. Are we getting a new manager? Isaiah nodded. Yes. But not from outside. I want someone who knows this building, the staff, the guests, and the pressure. Everyone turned toward Gia. She looked stunned. I don't have management experience, she said. You've been managing without the title, Isaiah replied. You know the schedule, the guests, the systems, and the problems. You've kept things moving without support. Farah spoke up. She's the only reason we haven't had more walkouts. Isaiah turned back to Gia. I'll get you training, mentorship, whatever you need. But the title's yours if you want it. She looked down at her hands for a moment, then nodded once. I'll try. But I don't want to just patch holes. I want to fix the foundation. Good, Isaiah said. Because we're not patching anything anymore. After the meeting, Isaiah asked Maria to walk him through the housekeeping wing. They moved slowly through the laundry room, the cart station, and the stock shelves. She pointed out where things used to be stored, where they now sat empty, and which equipment hadn't worked in weeks. We've been using cold water for 3 days, she said, gesturing to the washer. No hot cycle. The heating element's out. Isaiah examined the exposed wiring near the back panel. How long has it been like this? Over a week. Craig said repairs were too expensive. He knelt to inspect the connections and saw a burn mark along the cord. This could have caused a fire. Maria nodded. We've had 2 near misses this year. One was a vacuum that sparked. We reported it. Nothing changed. Isaiah stood. That changes now. I'm bringing in a licensed tech tomorrow. Every appliance gets inspected or replaced. She hesitated. You really mean that? I wouldn't have come here in uniform if I didn't. He left her to finish the shift and returned to the lobby. Gia was at the front desk, reviewing the reservation system. She had a clipboard open, red pen in hand. I need 2 things, she said without looking up. 1. A functioning spreadsheet that tracks real-time inventory. 2. Guest complaint logs from the last 4 weeks. Isaiah raised an eyebrow. You're getting started already? I'm not waiting until the next crisis. There's mold in room 215. I need authorization to shut it down. He nodded. Done. And I'll have someone from facilities here tomorrow to inspect the entire 3rd floor. She flipped the page. Also, we need to audit payroll. Something's off. Isaiah walked around the desk and looked over her shoulder. She had circled several names on the schedule. Some had been listed for shifts they didn't work. Others had missing hours. He picked up the phone and called the accounting department. I want the full payroll audit for location 17. Cross-reference names, hours, and timesheets. Start from December. He hung up and looked at Gia. You've got good instincts. I've just been paying attention. That night, Isaiah stayed in the manager's office catching up on incident reports. He found 3 unresolved maintenance tickets involving guest injuries, one a fall from a broken step near the pool area. No follow-up, no documentation. Just marked closed, in Craig's handwriting. He opened his laptop and began typing a formal report to the legal department. He didn't care how long it took. Every ignored hazard, every fake invoice, every missed payroll entry, it was all getting documented. At 11:30, he walked out to the lobby. The night auditor, a woman named Layla, sat behind the counter flipping through logs. She looked up, startled to see him. Didn't think you'd still be around, she said. I'm not leaving until this place runs right. She stood and stretched. I've got 4 guest requests pending, extra pillows, late checkout, and a room switch for 212. I already called housekeeping, but Maria's off now. Isaiah grabbed a notepad. I'll take care of it. She blinked. You're serious? I'm not above delivering pillows. He returned 30 minutes later, scribbled notes on the pad, and placed it beside her station. Layla gave a tired laugh. I think you just did half my shift. Then we're even. You've been doing half of everyone else's. The next morning, Isaiah met with 2 representatives from facilities and a regional compliance officer. They walked the property together for nearly 3 hours, cataloging faults, exposed wiring near the pool, malfunctioning locks on 5 guest room doors, a leaking AC unit over the stairwell, and a cracked window in the lobby that had been taped over instead of replaced. Isaiah had them write emergency work orders for every issue. At noon, a new shipment of linens and supplies arrived: fresh towels, properly tagged appliances, and sealed hygiene kits. Gia directed the delivery team, checking off items with the precision of someone who'd waited a long time to be taken seriously. As the afternoon shift began, Isaiah gathered the new team leads in the conference room. He didn't speak from a podium. He sat at the table with them. We're not going to fix everything overnight, he said. But we're going to fix it. And we're going to build a process that no one can exploit again. Farah raised her hand. What happens to the other stores? If this happened here, couldn't it happen somewhere else? Isaiah looked around the table. It could. That's why I'm going undercover again next month. Different city, different store. No warning. Devin leaned forward. You're serious? I'm not just rebuilding this location. I'm rebuilding trust. And that starts with me showing up. No one clapped. No one cheered. But no one looked skeptical either. Isaiah glanced at Gia, who was already making notes in a fresh binder. He stood. Let's get back to work. 2 weeks after Craig's removal, the St. Louis location was quieter, but not calmer. Isaiah sat in the former manager's office. Now Gia's reviewing the first full payroll audit with 2 regional analysts. The numbers confirmed what they'd suspected: ghost shifts, inflated overtime, and bonuses issued to non-existent employees. It was a paper trail of theft that stretched back nearly 8 months. Every fake staff member used a social security number from out of state, the analyst said. Looks like Craig built a loop through an old vendor account and slipped them in through the accounting software. Isaiah adjusted the reading glasses he now wore only for close work. How much? Just over 22,000, the second analyst said. And that's only what we can trace. He closed the folder. Forward everything to legal. We'll press charges. Outside the office, Gia was at the front desk balancing the arrivals sheet. Her movements were deliberate but slower than usual, and she rubbed her temple after taking a call from a guest with a room key issue. Isaiah waited until she hung up. You haven't taken a break yet. I will in a bit. He looked at her more closely. When did you last have a full day off? She hesitated. 9 days ago. That's not sustainable. I'm trying to stay ahead of the issues. You're doing more than that, he said. But you need backup. They both knew the front desk couldn't run on one person indefinitely. They tried pulling in part-time help from neighboring locations, but with travel costs and inconsistent training, it wasn't working. I have a candidate, Gia said. Someone I used to work with at a different hotel. She's sharp and looking for steady hours. Isaiah nodded. Bring her in for a paid trial. If she fits, we'll onboard her immediately. She scribbled a note and added, also, the guest in room 308 says the water pressure's low. Again. I'll check it myself. He took the stairs, not wanting to wait for the sluggish elevator. The maintenance wing still ran on skeleton staffing, Devin being the only full-time tech left. Isaiah didn't want to take him off higher priority jobs just yet. In 308 he ran the faucet. The cold came out fine. The hot water was barely a trickle. Back in the utility corridor, he traced the pipeline and found the issue, an old pressure valve corroded and partially shut. He marked it for replacement and returned to the lobby, passing Layla, the night auditor coming in early for a split shift. She gave him a tired nod. You sure you're okay to do a double? He asked. She shrugged. Better than shorting the desk when Gia's out. I've got someone starting on trial tomorrow. You'll have help soon. She unloaded her bag behind the desk and said, just one thing. Can you look at the cameras facing the rear lot? Someone's been smoking near the staff cars. I've found burn marks on my hood. Isaiah frowned. That lot's restricted. No guests should even be back there. I think it's one of the housekeeping temps. I caught a whiff of something stronger than cigarettes yesterday. He didn't wait. He walked straight to the camera room and pulled the footage. At timestamp 6:57 the previous evening, a tall man in a black hoodie leaned against a compact car at the edge of the lot. He wasn't in uniform. Isaiah paused the frame and checked the employee sign-in sheet. No one matching that description was scheduled. He called security. Check all rear lot access. From now on, no one gets back there without a valid staff badge. Yes, sir. Want me to pull the footage for the last week? Do it. The next morning, Isaiah arrived early to meet the candidate Gia had recommended, a woman named Rochelle. She had a calm demeanor, firm eye contact, and a resume that showed 6 years of front desk experience at 2 reputable chains. He asked her to shadow Gia for the day. By noon, it was clear she had potential. She handled the billing dispute without breaking rhythm and showed initiative by flagging a discrepancy in the minibar system for room 412. She's sharp, Gia said quietly during their overlap break. If she wants the job, it's hers. She does. Isaiah nodded. Done. You're no longer covering doubles. Gia let out a breath and said nothing, but her shoulders relaxed for the first time since the day he revealed who he was. Later that afternoon, Isaiah received a call from corporate legal. Craig's been served, the counsel said. We're pursuing criminal charges for fraud and theft. He's attempting to negotiate, but we have the documentation. Don't settle, Isaiah said. He didn't just steal money. He endangered people. That's not negotiable. After the call, he returned to the conference room where Maria, Devin, and Rochelle had gathered for a safety briefing. A third-party inspector had given them a list of code violations, and Isaiah wanted the team to understand what needed immediate attention. He handed out copies of the report. The stairwell lighting needs rewiring. One of the exit signs has no backup battery. And the fire extinguishers haven't been checked since last year. Maria raised her hand. I noticed the extinguishers weeks ago. I reported it, but I guess it got ignored. Isaiah met her eyes. It won't be ignored again. Devin spoke next. I'll handle the exit signs and run a full test on the alarms. But I'll need help lifting the new compressors when they arrive. Isaiah looked at him. I'll be here. We'll do it together. After the meeting, he walked the perimeter of the property. The landscaping was overgrown in spots. Trash bins behind the kitchen weren't secured. A small detail, but it spoke volumes. He made a list of minor fixes and left a voicemail for the contracted landscaper. As the sun dipped behind the downtown skyline, Isaiah returned to the lobby. The energy was different. Not cheerful, no one pretended this place was perfect yet, but steadier. Focused. Gia was finishing her shift, Rochelle picking up the handover effortlessly. Layla had picked up a new headset and was testing the front door intercom system, which had been spotty. Isaiah waited until Rochelle stepped away, then turned to Gia. "You've done more in 2 weeks than some managers do in a year." She didn't deflect. "I know. And I'm going to keep doing it. You'll get the support to match. I've authorized a full-time assistant manager slot. You'll help choose who fills it." She paused. "I already have someone in mind." "Then put them through the same trial you did. No shortcuts." She nodded. "There won't be." That night, Isaiah stayed in the guest room he'd originally shadowed from. Now clean, the hallway smelled of fresh paint, and the ice machine worked again. As he stood by the window, looking down at the staff lot, he saw Rochelle walking toward her car, waving to Layla as she passed. No smoking, no loitering. Just quiet professionalism. He sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out his laptop. In a private document titled Field Notes, he began typing. Store 17 was broken. Not because of its staff, but because of who was allowed to lead them. Rebuilding trust takes more than replacing a name on a door. It takes presence, action, and accountability. The people working here didn't need saving. They needed someone to stop looking away. He closed the file. Tomorrow, he had a flight to Denver. Store 9 had been quiet lately. Too quiet.